Hey guys, welcome to my channel. In this video, just like the title says, how to make Olympic medals, part 1. I want to dive into my concept sketches and concept design for these medals that I had made for my group of friends' backyard summer Olympic Games. This is our third year doing it. My second time actually making medals. The first time I made them out of clay, and sadly I didn't record any of it. But this year I wanted to kind of step it up for myself and design something three-dimensionally and have it 3D printed. So that's what this video is going to be. Me basically in this first part going through designing it with the sketches, and then in Sketchup showing you how I constructed it. And then the preceding video, part 2, will show you the 3D printing aspect of it, as much as I was able to get. And then me painting them, putting the ribbons on, and kind of doing any final finishing touches. And then round out part 3 with a nice, I don't know, montage vloggy video of me and my friends doing the backyard Summer Olympic Games 2017. Okay, so enough of me talking like a rambling fool. Why don't we move on to the concept sketches? Yeah. Okay, so for the design concept, I usually sketch out ideas in my sketchbook. As you can see in this first round of design, I was literally trying to just think of a concept. And this year we had our Olympic Games on 4th of July, so the kind of design concept for these medals were like America, you know, like 4th of July, American flag, all that. So that was like where these went right away as far as my design concept. So as you can see, I started just sketching out things, how big I wanted it to be, what I wanted it to look like. I wanted there to be like a giant star that kind of pulled focus, and then on the flag you have the stripes, and I just kind of wanted to pull that through. So these were some of my early designs that I was working with. As I continued drawing, I started refining my drawings a little bit. And as you can see, I went with some a little bit more out of the box designs, and then on the top right I really started to kind of pull my focus and really started to come through with the final design. And that's kind of what I ended up going with, was that design at the top. I felt like it was pretty simple, pretty achievable, did everything that I wanted, and I was happy with it, so I decided to go with it. And apologies for the creepy clown drawings below it. That was for another drawing project that I did for my friend's, God, did she turn 3? Her 3-year-old birthday. I tried to draw like a family portrait, and I can't draw children. I make them look satanic. Alright, so why don't we just jump right into it. The first thing I want to do is get rid of Lisa Ann, my ride-or-die girl. See ya! Okay, so then what I first did was reorient, get a top view, and then I started drawing some circles. The idea for this is to make the template for the overall size of the medal. I did 3.5 inches in diameter, and then I did 3/8 of an inch thick, and then reduced the outer rim by 1/4 on both sides to get this like nice lip around it that I think makes it very aesthetically pleasing and doesn't make it look beefy. And then I wanted to put the, I guess you would call it like the ribbon holder thing that you find at the top of most medals. I didn't want to get too fancy with this, just because there was so much going on with the actual medal. So I'm just doing this kind of rectangular holder that just has a about 1/8 inch opening inside of it. The only, I would say, fancy thing I did was I angled the supports that meet the edge of the metal to kind of follow the, I don't know, I guess they would be what, perpendicular to the edges of the circle, because in SketchUp they don't actually make like true circles. They're like 100 dongs or whatever you want to call it. You can see that they're like flat edges that just keep going around. So I try to just follow those perpendicularly. Yeah, English, right? But basically that's what I did. And then to give it a little flair again, so it wasn't as chunky, I kind of tapered the ends, pulled them over, cut them off, trimmed them. So when the metal's hanging, it kind of looks like it flows around it, and it's not a big clunky thing at the end. And then I just kind of tightened up the edges. I hate SketchUp, by the way. I don't really use this a lot, so I apologize if you guys are laughing at my skills in this thing. And then I just made a component and put it aside. So for the next part, I want to make the big star that you'll find in the center. So basically you're going to do a pentagon? No, pentagon? Yeah, pentagon? I'm so bad at these things. Yeah, so pentagon inverted downwards, and then you connect the exterior lines together, and you can start to make a star. It took me so long to figure this out, sadly. In general, but I ended up using guides just because it's quicker to kind of meet the corners, and then fill in the areas. And you can see it kind of made a star. This star is 1.5 inches tall, just because it'll fit nicely inside the disc, so that's what, like half the size of the disc. And then I made it, I think, 3/16 of an inch tall, just because we're going to add more layers to this, so it needs to be a little bit beefy. And then I added, oh yeah, and then because we're adding tiny little stars for like the flags, I would duplicate this, and I just made them really small. Think -0.012 in scale compared to the star you just made. And I basically just made a new component. I exploded it, new component. I don't know, what do I call these? Mini stars, whatever I want to call them. To just be used later, so I just deleted that. And then I went back to this big star, opened up the component, and then I used the offset thing to offset the interior by 1/16 of an inch. This kind of will give me a nice border, if I can do it right. And then I used the, oh god, what is it called? I don't really remember, but I sunk the interior down 1/16 of an inch again, just to give it a little bit more depth, so it just wasn't a plain star. Alright, so then I moved on to making those Olympic rings. Yeah, those 5 rings that make the world go round. Alright, so basically I made a circle that was 5/16 in diameter. And then I made a component, and I duplicated them, offset them, I think the same with 1/16 inch off of each other, overlap them, align them. I kind of eyeballed this, but it kind of worked. I made a component, edited the component, then merged all the rings together. So when I make the thickness, it'll all come together. I only ran into a slight problem with it being like filled at the top, but I ended up making these 3/16 of an inch thick. Again, they need to be a little bit beefy for the striping. In SketchUp, part of why I hate it is you need to like connect some of the lines after you draw it, and you'll be able to delete the fill space. So that's basically what I had to go and do in these things, is fill in a line and then just delete the fill. And I was able to make these rings because they're ballin'. Holla! Yeah, so these are what they look like. I highlighted and made them a component for use for later. So now I'm moving on to the striping. I basically made a rectangle that was 3 9/16 wide by 1.5 inches deep, tall, wide, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Then I made 1/8 of an inch striping, because I want to do that whole, you know, American thing with the 13 colonies. Hopefully I did this right. So basically I made all the stripes, and then after you make those, you kind of go in and you delete the every other one, and hopefully that makes what, 6 and 5? God, I'm so bad at math. Whatever these are, we should be able to get 13 stripes with solids and voids. I ended up making this 5/8 thick to be able to go through the metal, and then I made a component. And that's all for that, folks. So then the next part was the 3D text. Hope y'all know how to spell, because it's gonna be in handy. So the first one is the backyard summer. That's what I need. Make sure you drop one down. The next one we're gonna need is Olympics 2017. Olympics first line, and then 2017 next line. And then you're gonna want just good old, oh well, I messed up. But yeah, basically you're gonna want 2017, just plain Jane 2017. Alright, so this is the grand finale. This is how you make the magic. So we made all those components, now we're gonna put them all together. You're gonna start with the metal disc, bring it out, put it on the middle, center it, align it, make sure it's all lined up. This will just be helpful. SketchUp's pretty good with that. So then you're gonna take the big old star and plop that baby right in the middle. Smack dab, smackity smack smack. I put guides because I couldn't smack it in the middle. And then SketchUp pretty much put it on the right level, thankfully, because I would have killed it. Now the hard part was putting it on the underside, because it doesn't have a underside view, which who wants an underside view other than me? But I put the Olympic rings on the bottom side, centered them the best I could, made sure they were flush with the bottom of the ring, and then I plopped in those fancy striping. I just put it in there, try to align it to the center, make sure it's all lined up, centered in the middle, and not shifted over to the left, right, whatever. I didn't merge these. I didn't cut away the striping so the disc fit in, because it looks fine the way it is. I'm not gonna fuss with it. Ain't nobody got time for that. So now we're gonna take our lettering that we used, place them where we wanted. Now obviously these came in a little bit too big. You're gonna want to scale these down. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Unless you want to be very anal about this, you can be very precise and make them the same size and everything. Which, you know, if you're gonna put so much effort into, I suggest you do. But I clearly didn't. Yeah, so I fussed with a little bit, but these are 3D, so they shrink, and the thickness shrinks with everything, and it works pretty well. I centered these on the center of the metal. Backyard summer up at the top, and then Olympics 2017 below. Again, centered these, resized them so they looked pretty good. Clearly I didn't think that looked good. And as you can see, it's a lot of back and forth of what you think looks good, the sizing. I did try and play with the scale a little bit, but it was getting annoying. Because again, SketchUp sucks, and it makes me want to like punch it in the face. Just punch it. So yeah, I'm just just laying them down a little bit, just centering them, and it started to look good. And now is probably going to be the hard part, is laying out these 50 stars. Again, the hard part is laying these down, because SketchUp does a pretty good job of putting them on the surface, but with these being so tiny, it's hard to like get them spaced accurately. So I grouped them, moved them, duplicated them, align them and just move them down. So for the 50 stars, the top section should have 25, and then the bottom section should have 25. And if y'all math scholars, you know that's 50. And if y'all know America, you know 50 is how many states we have. Off Puerto Rico, maybe. Anyway, yeah, so, well, I do have 51 stars. A big old star in the middle, y'all. So yeah, so I made the stars, and then I realized they were not in the same plane, so that was annoying. And then you had friggin' stars flown all over the place, because SketchUp can't decide where it wants to throw stars, apparently. And hindsight is 2020. Since I'm recording this after I made these and finished them, the 3D printer I used did not recognize these stars very well, because I think they were so tiny. So if you're planning on doing something similar to this with small objects, I would maybe simplify it. I think all of these tiny, pretty thin stars ended up being too dense, too thin, too complex for the 3D printers. Especially this day and age, they're pretty good, but they're not that good. Now I'm placing the ones on the bottom. I basically just duplicated the other one and just made it unique, and then just flipped the stars, and then just slid them over. You just align them, and they come together like a white girl. I don't know what that means, I'm sorry. So yeah, this is what it looks like. I'm cleaning up a little bit, and you put it all together, and you have the finished Olympic medal. It's pretty simple. I think it came out pretty good. It was quick. As long as you make the components, put them all together, they just kind of flow together, and you have something that looks really awesome. So in the end, guys, I think these medals ended up looking amazing. It was my first time kind of making the model in SketchUp and then getting them 3D printed, and then like coming back and like painting them and putting the ribbon thing on it. So yeah, so obviously part 2 will be me explaining that, the 3D printing aspect, and then me getting them ready, priming them, painting them, and putting the ribbons on, and then going from there and seeing the finished product again. So yeah, I hope you guys like that. This was pretty fun to do. This is my second time making them again. This is first time doing it like digitally and making like real complex metals. My last ones were awesome, but like they were made out of clay, so they're a little rough around the edges. So please like and subscribe, and wait for part 2. It should be coming out pretty soon. So yeah, thank you guys. Have a good day.